Welcome into the Shenk and Spence show on the Rover Sports Channel. I am Spencer Grossinger here, and I'm with my good buddy Matt, and it's great to be back in studio again. It's been a little while since we've been able to kind of get up and running again, Shenk, and it's just really nice to be able to have you in studio again, man. How are you?
I'm doing well, man. Welcome all the geeks and goons down there to the Shenk and Spence show. It's been a wild Memorial Day weekend, being able to enjoy your your festivities, especially paying homage to all the troops who served in the
No doubt.
Navy, Army, and Army SEALs, everything. And it's very appreciative to be able to enjoy that moment with your friends and family, and to really just take a step back on life, and we are 48 hours now away from the NBA Finals. Like, after how bad the NBA season has been over the past 2 months, we finally get a hell of a juggernaut game against Cleveland and Warriors trilogy. Can't get any better than this moment for Cleveland and company to be able to go up against the juggernaut that is the Warriors. And we might as well just start it off right here.
Absolutely.
In the NBA Finals. It's such a like, for LeBron to be able to go to his 7th NBA Finals. I think no matter what sports you're in, I know that the NBA, it's such a it's like a not even that good of a, well, it's still a popular sport in the NFL or in the country, but
it is. But the playoffs have been awful, Matt.
Absolutely.
When you look at the when you look at the playoffs, I mean, they just haven't been up to the caliber that you'd want them to be, and that's because there's really only been 2 dominant teams. And you look at the Eastern Conference, and there's not that many stars in the Eastern Conference. I mean, John Wall's okay, Bradley Beal's a pretty good player. You look at who the Cavs beat, Boston. I mean, Isaiah Thomas is one of the best players in the league. I mean, the NBA players always talk about how the NBA is like a really healthy league, but to tell you the truth, it's really not. You know, because I really think that the league is so top heavy. It's been boring to watch the NBA playoffs, Matt.
I know it certainly has been. And I was saying we're finally thrilled to be able to get the trilogy for this great series. I really hope this series does go 7, but we'll certainly get into our analysis later in the show.
Absolutely.
But I think we should start off by saying, do you think that Kevin Durant, him going to the Warriors, is ruining the whole thing of the NBA, of how everything is, for Kevin Durant going to the Warriors, does that make the NBA less of a popular sport because everybody's building super teams? And I think you can't just blame Kevin Durant. You also have to blame LeBron, on his counterpart, because he's the one that started the quote-unquote the decision to be able to go back to Cleveland, to bring Kyrie, obviously that was there, to bring Kevin Love, to trade away Wiggins to get Love. I think he's the one that started this whole mess that the NBA that is seen, especially, you're seeing the results, especially in this past playoffs. The teams are just rolling past each other. Cleveland sweeping teams, only lost 1 game to Boston after a miraculous shot by Avery Bradley. But, and the Warriors.
And they really took that game lightly, when you look back on it, Chenko, like the Cavs really took Boston lightly that one game.
Yeah, they did, and they were sleepwalking the entire game. We did a live stream to be able to say how great that game was. We watched it for the first half of it. But,
Right.
Cleveland and company are just, slow walking through that whole game. And they knew they were going to win the series. They didn't have any incentive because, they should have incentive to be able to win in 4. I mean, you're going to get a long layoff and not being able to play for, a certain amount of days. But, with LeBron and company, you should take care of business when you have the opportunity to do so. And I think it's going to be quite an interesting finals, to say the least. You're finally going to see, LeBron going to his 7th finals. It's something not to gawk at. A great feat, no matter what sport it is.
It is.
And when you look at a guy like LeBron, and he's put so much time and effort into the weight room, the locker room, the film room, to be able to have that same fire and tenacity every single day, every single year. It's such a remarkable accomplishment. And I know all the LeBron haters will hate me by saying that, but you have to pay homage to one of the greatest players to ever play the game in LeBron
It
James.
is, and it's frustrating though because you want to see new blood and you want to see rivalries, and the NBA really doesn't have like that typical rivalry, Shenko, that it desperately needs. You know, like I know that the Cavs were able to win last year, and I know that they were able to win the series and make a miraculous comeback. The Warriors last year, like everyone wants to talk about their regular season, but they shouldn't have even been in the NBA Finals. You know, I think that two things ruined the NBA. You know, Klay Thompson, that Game 6 where the Thunder choked that game. The Thunder were the better team than the Warriors all playoff long. They destroyed Golden State several times, and really, you know, the Thunder had that series. They were up 5 with maybe 3 minutes to go in that game where Klay Thompson went off and carried Golden State to the win. And really, when you look at the Oklahoma City Thunder, if they were able to win that series, then they would play in the NBA Finals, and there's no way Kevin Durant would leave. Also, something that also ruined the parity of the league is Draymond getting suspended, because if Draymond and the Warriors win Game 5 of the NBA Finals and they beat the Cavs in 5 games last year, there's no way that the Warriors are out looking for Kevin Durant because they don't have that incentive. They don't need to break everything up. Like if the Warriors won 2 straight championships, Shenko, I don't think that they would be out there, you know, trying to court Kevin Durant because they'd say, we're fine as it is. We're fine as it is. We don't need that extra star to propel them. And you look at last year, I mean, Cleveland, I believe, was just as good as that series was so evenly matched, you know. Mm-hmm. You had Game 3, and I know that I mentioned like Draymond getting suspended hurt Golden State, but their effort in Game 6 was awful. I think the Cavs might have won that game by 25. Like, if you're the better team, you take them out in Game 6, and the Warriors, they were lucky to get past the conference finals, and even though they won 70-plus games, they didn't have a rim protector. They're soft. They live and die by three-point shots, and, you know, now with Kevin Durant, though, they have this wiry 7-footer. They could score inside and out. I just think they're too much.
Well, when you were talking about, you know, when they lost their big man last year and Andrew Bogut having I think he had a broken leg. I'm not unsure about that, but I think he had like a significant leg injury, which they didn't have a great rim protector last year, and they needed to get one this year in Zaza Pachulia. I know, you know, he's not at the same level as Andrew Bogut was, because I think Andrew Bogut was definitely a great catalyst last year to be able to rim protector. He's not going to put up a double machine, but he's gonna put up decent blocks, rebounds to be able to dish it out to guys like Steph and Clay. But yeah, to address your point, Draymond Green deserved that suspension. He might have ruined the parity of the NBA as you think so, but after all the antics that he's done in the playoffs with doing his antics that he's been doing and being called a dirty player and not being suspended. And that was the first game he actually got suspended for. And it was in a critical Game 5.
It was.
And they could have easily closed out. The Warriors were up 3-1. They had all the momentum. And then all of a sudden, the gears of the motor started to shift towards the Cleveland Cavaliers, because they started to pick up steam. They started to pressure Steph and Clay, but to continue now 1 year later, I think what you need to do to be able to stop the Warriors, you're gonna have to force guys like Klay Thompson and Steph Curry to put up shots, because you're gonna have to be able to stop Kevin Durant coming off the screen pick and rolls, because he's gonna be able to drive to the paint and be able to get points, rebounds, and assists like he knows well and does. But I think, Kevin Durant's definitely going to have a chip on his shoulder this year, and everybody else, well, I'm not saying everybody else won't. Obviously, Kevin Durant losing in the finals in 2012, he's not going to forget that. Draymond Green and Steph Curry and company lost last year the way they lost. They're not going to forget about that. So I just think this year it's going to be I just hope for a great series, but I just think that... You want to think we just go with our predictions now?
Well, what I was going to say, Matt, is I think Draymond Green is just so incredibly valuable. Because this guy, I really do like Draymond Green's heart, and I think that he has the heart and soul of this team, and he gives this team toughness. And I love how Draymond's actually going after Cleveland, saying that he wants to destroy them. And I think you need a villain kind of in the NBA, and Draymond was irresponsible last year, and they needed Draymond Green. And for him to let LeBron LeBron James get in his head like that. I know that Draymond called LeBron a bitch. Just why the heck would you be doing it? You're up 3-1. It showed such immaturity because you had the series won. You go back to Oracle. You don't get suspended. You were drilling Cleveland late in that game, and Draymond was more interested in his self-fight with LeBron James, and now LeBron James won another championship. So when you look at LeBron James being the greatest of all time, he could only have one ring if these two things happened. Ray Allen doesn't hit the shot, San Antonio wins it in 6 games, okay? And then if Draymond Green plays game 5, all the momentum, LeBron people would say he would only have, one championship. He'd be what, 1-4 or 1-5 in the NBA Finals? So that's what people would argue about LeBron James. But when you watch LeBron, and I kind of want to get into this discussion, Shenko, and then I want to draft our top 7 players in the NBA Finals, okay? Like, meaning we're going to rank the top 7 players from both teams in this finals. But when you look at LeBron James, do you think he's the best two-way player to ever play the game? That's my question to you, Shenko.
I can't give a reason why not, because he's a guy who's a 6'6" frame, 6'8" frame, 240 plus pounds, a guy who, is a offensive facilitator. He plays just like Magic. And I know a lot of people are going to be like, "Oh, you're comparing him to Magic," but look at the way his basketball IQ is. He gets the ball to the open guys when they're open, makes these ridiculous passes just like Magic would. He gets guys involved. He rebounds. He gets assists. He takes over games when it matters most at certain points in his career. He's had so many clutch moments in his career against Boston, against like Detroit and other.
He has.
Other great.
The game 5 against Detroit was just spectacular with LeBron James.
And especially in 2011 when they had the game, when they were down 3-2, LeBron put his team on his back and scored 40 plus points. Mm-hmm. And even last year
at the Boston Garden,
he scored 40 plus consecutive 40 points against Golden State even last year. That's 70. Through what is it? Yeah, 73-19.
In game 5, he just absolutely took over that game, and people will say because Draymond wasn't there, but
I mean, he'll take games over, but put LeBron in a different era, like in the 80s, 90s era when Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen played. I think he's a whole different story. But
you think that he would get beat up in that era?
Absolutely, because the NBA was such a different mindset. It was more of a bump and run type of Everybody would get hit every time you go over the middle. Everybody who knows
it was a mid-range game too. Like the mid-range is a lost art now. You watch kids, and we play basketball all the time. They're just going for 3 or they're going for floaters and layups.
That's right.
Larry Bird would catch the ball at the elbow, and he would have to carve out space, and he'd even throw elbows in there to get open. So
yeah, I mean,
you're absolutely right. The mid-range game is lost, but keep going.
Yeah, I mean, let's continue. LeBron being one of the greatest players, I think he's definitely in the top 10 discussion. We can certainly argue other players are above ahead of him, from experience and NBA Finals perspective, but experience and all that. But yeah, LeBron James, you got to put him up there, and especially in the top 10, NBA players of all time. No question about it.
I think LeBron is going to be. I think he's top 3 all time, and I know that this conversation keeps going on. But you look at Irvin, Magic Johnson, and these are before we play, but before we watch. But a lot of people, Shenko, would say that the NBA is more athletic now. But I don't know if they should make like a 3-second violation or something, because the league is getting almost too spread out with stretch 4s, in my opinion. Like, no one likes to bang inside anymore. Everybody just wants to stay on the 3-point line. You look at Kristaps Porzingis and even Joel Embiid, and these guys just honestly just like to shoot 3s now. And if you can't shoot, you're done. I'm trying to think of a guy who's not a great shooter now. Like DeAndre Jordan's okay, but his team never wins anymore, and he might be the most dominant center in the NBA. Is that true? When you look at like guys, I mean, Tristan Thompson's a pretty good center, but look at Kevin Love. He's even pretty soft now.
DeAndre Jordan's a double-double machine, but he can't hit a mid-range shot for his life, and he can't hit his free throws. He's got horrible free throw percentage. I wouldn't call him. I wouldn't really call him an all-around great center. I mean, yeah, he puts up a double-double, but does that make him a great center? No,
but
I don't think so.
I'm talking in terms of dominance in today's kind of NBA.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you're calling about dominance in today's NBA, yeah, you're going to put DeAndre Jordan, especially up there.
Because he's a guy who could dunk the ball. He plays like a traditional
I'd rather
center.
have a guy like Anthony Davis besides DeAndre. He
Oh,
can shoot
yeah.
the mid-range. He can shoot
He's
threes.
very modern. He's a modern center.
He can dominate in the post. You know, he can play him at the 4 or the 5. You know, I just love Anthony Davis's game. Like, you know, I think he's the best center / forward in the NBA. You know, I remember him coming out of Kentucky. He was a scrawny kid. He was very lengthy. Did not have that, you know, he didn't have that muscle build that he has today. He definitely put a lot of, you know, muscle, especially in the weight room. So I applaud him for doing that. And his game has, you know, evolved and it's changed. He did not have a great mid-range coming out of college. He developed that in the NBA level. His post game was much better. He's starting to back down players. And
Right.
I think his game has evolved so much. And same with Kyrie. I remember Kyrie was a good player at Duke, but he wasn't a great player at Duke. I mean, his mid-range got much better. His three-point got much better. You know, his
Kyrie
range of being a
Irving,
point
I know
guard,
it's unbelievable
so
how
much
the
better
scout. It's
today.
unbelievable how the scouts saw that Kyrie Irving could be great. And you know, I know that this is a football channel, Shenko, and we have to just show our Giants highlights here just to show off the technology. Look at how clear this picture is on Sunday Night Football. Real quick, a question that's being asked by Ben in Pittsburgh is: do you think that Sunday Night Football is better than Monday Night Football? What do you think about that?
Oh, wow. That's so hard because a lot of people enjoy Monday Night Football and they love the analysis of John Gruden, and everybody loves hearing John Gruden, especially with football.
I think
Gruden
people like
camp.
Gruden, yeah.
And I think
Gruden's a cool guy.
I think his analysis is spot on with a lot of his X's and O's of the football game. And, you know, if you want a little chuckle, you'll tune on to Sunday night and hear Chris Collinsworth and company to be able to hear those two Goonies go after it. But,
Al Michaels and Collins. I think a lot of people like Collinsworth even more than Gruden, though.
I do, too.
You like Collinsworth. I've come around. I thought he was a little bit annoying. It's the voice. It's kind of like the Southern Cowboy voice. He's like that WWE wrestler announcer guy, you know, who kind of has that. Who is? It's not JR. It's who's the cowboy who does the WWE announcing. Lawler. Yeah.
I love
Jay
Lawler.
Lawler. Yeah.
They're the best. If we're talking about wrestling for like a couple seconds here, but the best tandem in WWE history is JR and Lawler. You cannot get any better than those announcers in WWE, WWF in all of time wrestling. I think it's better than a lot of
Lawler so much.
JR and Lawler are probably the best tandem for announcing in any sport of all time. That's just my opinion. You know, I'm a little bit biased, but I think their voices are legendary. Yeah. They make everything great in the sport of the entertainment world in wrestling. But you know, to continue what we're talking about today, for football perspective, I'm excited obviously for the Giants this year. I know they especially we were talking, had our interview the other day with Copizzle saying you guys had an argument or debate about, you know, did the Giants offense overperform or underperform? And I was just sitting there chomping at the bit, you know, to get my say in there. But I think the Giants offense severely underachieved. No doubt about it in my mind. Yeah. Because the defense kept them in games last year. There were times last year where you would hope that the Giants would be able to muster up a defensive stand to be able to get the ball back and just run out the clock. Even that Rams game in London was atrocious to be able to watch that team. After it was that team wasn't even impressive, especially the offensive side for the first 3 quarters. And all of a sudden, you know, Landon Collins made that key interception at the end to be able to seal that game last year.
Oh, in London, that was just the shittiest game I've seen in a long time. It sent football back. I don't think people, if they were obliged to watch the Rams and Giants, I don't think people would like watching football because that game was just awful. The Giants couldn't move the ball. They can't run the ball. Eli's arm is just not strong anymore, and it's just unimaginary play calling. I think the Vikings game was even worse. It was torture to watch. Man. If you remember too, the Vikings and the Packers game, like the Redskins game, we watched that game. That was a fun game, and the Giants had multiple opportunities. The offense was humming against the Redskins. Just mental mistakes. Eli threw a pick at the end.
But those are the mental mistakes that Eli's are bound to make. He always makes those bonehead moves sometimes.
He does.
And, that's just the way Eli is, and
he takes
always
takes chances, though. I'd rather have Eli than a Trevor Siemian who kind of plays like a pussy,
Well, I mean, that's I can understand
because
that.
Alex Smith and Trevor Siemian, they don't ever throw the ball downfield, but Eli was able to win championships because he took those risks. So you kind of live with, both sides of the coin with Eli.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, he had his opportunities when he was in the playoffs. I mean, this year I thought we were going to have that magic in the playoffs against Green Bay, and then obviously when that Aaron Rodgers Hail Mary to Randall Cobb, I thought there was no way, chance in hell the Giants were going to come back the way that momentum shift was going. The Giants couldn't muster up anything offensively. That defense was severely gassed by Aaron Rodgers and company. They had no answer for Rodgers. Rodgers just torched them, like an ice cream sundae. So
exactly.
I mean, it was a loss situation for them. But to be able to go in the playoffs their first season, under Ben McAdoo, I mean, I think that's a win-win situation because the Giants last year, they were at 5 years prior, they did not even make the playoffs at all, didn't even, touch the postseason. And for able to get over that hump, to be able to get back in the postseason, again, I think that's just a win, for Ben McAdoo.
And you look at the stretch of the schedule, what really started the Giants really coming into their own was the game against the Eagles in the first quarter that they were able to have, like Landon Collins picking off Carson Wentz, Eli hitting Odell Beckham, then Eli hitting Shepard towards the back of the end zone in the second half. The Giants were. I'm talking about the game versus the Eagles when the Giants had their bye week with the Rams where they were able to win. So the Giants at this time
I do remember that game. Yep.
Let me see, were they 4-3? They were 4-3 at this time. Mm-hmm. Okay?
Right.
So then they beat the Eagles, right? A tremendous win.
That was a great
win.
Then
they played a Bengals team that obviously didn't make the playoffs last year. They were hobbled. They had injuries. They just weren't the same. Andy Dalton not playing well. The Bengals were very average to below average. That was an ugly game on Monday night, but the Giants were able to win that one. Remember that, and then you had the Bears and the Browns, two of the worst 5 teams in the league.
Yeah, but
the schedule really helped out Ben McAdoo. That's what I'm saying. I don't think the Giants were an incredible team by any means. Their defense is very good. Their offense is just off. It was just really poor.
You can definitely agree with me there. The Giants didn't dominate any games last year. I mean, for a period of time, you thought they were going to lose to the Browns. I mean,
we were talking about how do you remember those conversations on 3rd and 1? And I don't even know if they got a first down till maybe in the second quarter.
Pathetic.
But on 3rd and 1, they got stuffed. I just remember that. They kept on setting Brad Wing out there. And the defense saved them. Olivier Vernon saved them in those games. Remember the Bears?
Paul.
The Bears second half, Jay Cutler looked like he was just in a full body cast. He couldn't move around at all. And that's what stemmed the tide for him.
Was so important for that franchise. Landon Collins to be able to come into that player that he is, a Pro Bowl type of player. I just love the way he plays the game. Jerry Reese, hats off to you, man. You did a great job trading up in the second round to be able to get Landon Collins, 2 years ago. That's such a great pick. He's got a great instincts for the ball. He plays he plays zone very well. He can cover anybody on the field. He's a hard hitter. He plays in between. He plays in between the line of scrimmage. He's a clean player. He works hard. I just love the way his game is. He's definitely a leader on that defense.
He just has tremendous character.
Unbelievable.
Doesn't he really have tremendous character, Landon Collins?
And I tell you, he would not let that happen. The Odell Beckham going down to Miami. I'm still surprised that Victor Cruz even let that happen.
And do you think that's why? Do you think that's why Victor is gone? Maybe.
I just think that Giants have too many. I mean, the Giants already have enough talent now. I mean, to surround Eli with now for his last couple years. Sterling Shepard is a great slot receiver. He's younger than Victor Cruz. No injury problems there. Odell Beckham's your number one, obviously, and obviously you get a big play target in Brendan Marshall, a guy who you need desperately. They did not have that big target last year, a big body type of receiver.
You're absolutely
and now they
right.
absolutely finally got a great tight end in this draft.
In the red zone. In the red zone, I'm really excited to see what can go on.
And the thing is, his blocking is something yet to be seen. He's more of a flex type of tight end, but I hope that he can, develop himself in the weight room, get a little bit bigger, and be that same type of player that Jeremy Shockey was, Kevin Boss, Jake Ballard, and because I would like to see a tenured tight end to be able to have that same success, just like the Mark Bavaro days. And everybody remembers Mark Bavaro, how great of a tight end he was.
Just epic, and a guy that just defined the 90s in toughness. I was watching Lawrence Taylor highlights and Harry Carson in that decade, and I loved how people hit in that decade.
Oh, yes.
I loved how football wasn't a soft sport anymore. And let's talk about the playoffs last year, Shenko. The Raiders-Texans game was atrocious. Even Brock Osweiler, they made him look good, right?
That's right.
The Dolphins-Steelers was a terrible game. The Lions versus the Seahawks, the Lions had no heart. It
None.
just shows you how pathetic the league was last year that the Lions even made the playoffs, because they're a heartless team when they get to the playoffs. And Matt Stafford, I just don't believe in him anymore, and I don't believe in Jim Caldwell. Those guys are pulseless. I don't think they're going to do anything in their careers, and it's sad because unlike Trevor Siemian and Alex Smith, Matt Stafford actually has a good arm.
Yeah.
So, but you look at the NFL playoffs were just as poor last year. But, looking at the Giants, they benefited from a schedule. And now this year, you look at the Giants schedule and it's going to be more appropriately tough. But I want to talk about, the whole, a team that we're going to have to be covering because we're going to have to be on Philly radio. I wanted to let our listeners come into our show, Shenko, because we are going to be coming on Philadelphia Sports Radio, 6:10 a.m. Giants Talk's going to invade the Philadelphia airwaves. And I just wanted to talk a little bit. The Eagles are really going under the radar, actually. A lot of people have them finishing third. The Giants are actually winning the offseason, the Giants and the Cowboys, Shenko. And you look at Alshon Jeffrey. I think Alshon Jeffrey's okay. I would have been more scared if the Eagles selected Reuben Foster out of Alabama. I'm not too scared about Derek Barnett. What about you, Shenko? I don't think Derek Barnett is going to haunt us for years to come. And then you look at the Eagles. They drafted a cornerback, Sidney Jones, who's not going to be playing for a while. You have Zach Ertz, who I think is very overrated by NFL margins. Everybody loves this. So looking at this Eagles team, Torrey Smith, Jordan Matthews now, they add some weapons. Still no running backs to speak of. What do you think of this 2017 Eagles team, Shenko?
I go back to that roster because I'm like to tell all these Eagle fans here, and they need to listen up very quickly. I think the Eagles, their roster this year, it looks good. On paper. Alshon Jeffrey, 1 year for $14 million. Obviously Alshon Jeffrey, great receiver. I'm not saying he's a bad receiver. Yeah, he put up 800 yards with basically no quarterback last year. 800 yards, okay, that's very impressive. But for him to get $14 million for 1 year, you mean to tell me he's $3 million less money than Antonio Brown, the best, all-purpose yards wide receiver in the league? I don't think so. I think they definitely overpaid for Alshon Jeffrey. They feel like they go back to that because I need to see that.
Yeah.
So I really do. I love the Alshon Jeffrey pick. But
I don't like it that much. I wouldn't even be that excited if he was on the Giants.
I think that I think he's overpaid. I think he could have gotten him for cheaper, but he was asking for what the market, what he wanted, and he got it. Torrey Smith.
I think it's classic Howie Roseman trying to pump up the fan base, though.
But also
trying to rally the
Torrey Smith is a seasoned veteran.
He did. He played great in that 12th season.
Yes, and Jordan Matthews is a guy who sometimes can't catch balls off the side of a brick barn, but hopefully he
and Nelson Aguilar too.
But Zach Ertz is a guy he plays when he wants to play. Sometimes I'm not a big fan of Ertz as well. Ertz does play well, within the line of scrimmage when he has the opportunities to, but I just think that I think one of the great pickups that the Eagles picked up, and I'm very jealous of this, LeGarrette Blount. I think he is a hard-nosed runner. I think he's going to have, pretty decent success, but I mean, look what he did for New England. He might be just a system guy, and a guy like LeGarrette Blount running behind that offensive line, for New England, especially when you have Tom Brady at your quarterback, you're gonna play better. I don't care what you are. He had some. Remember how Tom Brady always had the no-name wide receivers and running backs to be able to have the muster that success. So,
yeah, remember Stephon Ridley? I drafted Stephon Ridley for fantasy football, and that's like the death of a fantasy team because I remembered he fumbled once at Buffalo, and the guy was on my bench the entire year because Bill Belichick just pulls running backs. And, like, look at the guy. Who was the guy? James White, who was a hero of the Super Bowl last year. Yep. I don't think LeGarrette Blount is a 3-down back, okay? The guy, what is he, 30 years old? He smokes weed in the offseason a lot. He even got suspended last year for smoking pot. So, I mean, he's not a bad guy off the field, but he's not going to be a juggernaut for the Eagles. And I look at Paul Perkins and Wayne Gallman, and I'm not jealous at all about LeGarrette Blount. Nobody else really wanted LeGarrette Blount. People around here aren't even talking about him that much. I'll tell you the truth, man. I think LeGarrette Blount is just okay. I don't even think he's that terrific. I think Jamal Charles and Adrian Peterson are more appealing than LeGarrette Blount.
If you're a fantasy owner, you have to love LeGarrette Blount.
Oh, he's a good in the red zone.
He was great in the red zone last year.
But he's not a 3-down back.
He definitely led the New England in rushing touchdowns last year. He did so well for them, coming off the bench for the third down to be able to get that first down for them every time that they asked him to perform that task. But I just think that it's going to be a little bit different for LeGarrette Blount this year, running behind the Eagles' offensive line. Eagles' offensive line is still, in the middle of the pack.
Jason Kelsey's still pretty small. Let's look at their O-line, okay? So you have Jason Peters. He might even be a Hall of Famer. He's really good, but he's an old left tackle who gets hurt and has false starts and holds. Alan Barbary and Isaac Seumalo at your guards, not great.
Seumalo.
Horrible.
I remember that, yeah. They
Turnstiles. Brandon Brooks, loved that pick though, honestly. Mm-hmm. And then can Lane actually play this year? And their offensive line is okay, but I don't expect them to. Havatala Vatai. Yep. Just call him Big V.
Remember,
call me Big V
last year.
When I go to the club, call me Big V. But their offensive line's okay. I think Carson Wentz is just okay. Like, I don't think he's going to dominate. I just think the competition of this league is too steep for the Eagles. Their defense is this position that they have holes. They have major holes at Patrick Robinson at their corner is going to be playing. Jalen Mills is susceptible. Michael Kendricks is on the trading block, and they're actually really thin at linebacker, surprisingly. Nigel Bradham is inconsistent, and their pass rush, Brandon Graham just had a great season, but that was really only his first strong season in the NFL.
You know what worries me about Carson Wentz's release? He's got that long delivery.
He does.
And the thing is, it's definitely difficult when you come into the league having that long delivery. I know he had, relative, success last year, but there was times last year where Carson Wentz, did not perform well. You remember that Seahawks game, later in the year, didn't play very well. I mean, he had some flashes last year. He had some great passes. I'm not going to knock him, for having a couple bad games. He's only a rookie. I think he's going to get better. I think if they use him well in the right system, Alshon Jeffrey and all of them, and LeGarrette Blount, they all, do well in the offseason to prepare. I just think if Wentz, fixes his release a little bit, I think they can have, relative success this year. The only cause for concern I have for the Eagles is especially their defense. Their defense, they still need linebacker and secondary help last year because they got torched last year as well by Seattle and Green Bay. I mean, everybody else did, but, you still need to improve on that defensive side to really solidify yourself to be a significant competitor, especially in the NFC East, because you definitely have the Giants. They have their, I believe, contending team with all the talent that they have on the defensive side, and now adding all the offensive guys now this year. I just think the Giants are just,
I think that they're above the Eagles too.
I think so too.
The Eagles start out, looking at their schedule, they start out at Washington and at Kansas City, and that could be losses.
Yeah, that's true. But
which
a
I
lot of
personally
Eagles
would like.
fans-
They're going to be 1-1. To expect them to go to
Well-
Missouri and win in Arrowhead and also to win at FedEx Field, I think is unrealistic. If they won both of those games, that would be a wake up call, holy shit sort of thing.
Well, all the Eagles fans were like, oh, well, we always beat the Giants 1-on-1 all the time. We have the record against you guys. We always beat you guys. That doesn't mean that you're better than us. So what do you say to those Eagles fans out there that think like that?
Well, this is what I say to Eagles fans like that, is that your claim to fame is winning a regular season game at our stadium. You know,
Yep.
like that's all they talk about is Deshaun Jackson. All they want to talk about, Shenko, is the miracle at the Meadowlands. That's all Eagles fans have to point to. And in fact, for our division, I know that when you guys get into the playoffs, that they can't win a game. They're dead when they get in, dead on arrival. DOA, Shenko. They lose to the Saints. With Chip Kelly. I think that's the last time that franchise has been in the postseason. Correct me if I'm wrong, Shenko. Was the game against the Saints. I mean, I'm happy that Chip Kelly is gone, because Chip Kelly the Giants really couldn't keep up with Chip, and Coughlin would have fits with Chip Kelly. But looking at the Philadelphia Eagles, I'll be completely honest with you, Shenko. I think that the Giants, once they get into the dance, they actually go and they win championships. And the Eagles are a decent regular season team. Their fan base is gritty. They're angry. They're a pessimistic bunch of people to be around, man. Even for the NFL draft, Roger Goodell, they're just ruthless people. Giants fans are a little happier, a little bit more jovial. They're still pessimistic Giants fans, don't get me wrong. We're all pessimistic, if you're a Giants fan. But looking at the Eagles, I'd say the Eagles fans are just angry, bitter, and I mean, they haven't won a championship, but part of that is because I really do think that it's not fun going to Eagles games, if you're a visiting fan.
Well,
and it's not a safe place to be, and that's kind of what I have to say about the Eagles fans.
To add to their point, the Eagles fans, I wouldn't call them pessimistic. I would call them passionate, but I think they're passionate for sometimes.
But I think that they're a little irresponsible.
And here is why. I think they're passionate for the wrong reasons. Is because I've grown up in this town as a Giants fan, and a lot of Eagles fans will come up to me and say, "Oh well, we love our Eagles, and Eli is just a baby, and he looks like a baby on the screen."
Yeah, that's exactly what they'll say. They'll say he's a bitch and a pussy and whatnot.
That's nothing to do with how he plays the game. They'll always make fun of his appearance. Like that's not.
Yeah, like
you're
the Eli resting face
for the wrong reasons. And I think there's passion there. Don't get me wrong. Like they love their city. They love their team. They definitely showed it, a couple weeks ago when they had the NFL draft in Philadelphia. But
yeah, they did a nice job.
There's a fine line between knowing what you're talking about in an argument or just talking about somebody's appearance, and that's what a lot of Eagles fans, most Eagles fans in Philadelphia, do. All they do is they make fun of people. They just they don't care if you're they're in the same division.
They are not as happy about themselves as they are at bashing your head in and beating the shit out of you. Like that's their only existence, is to embarrass other people in their division. Where the Giants fans, we kind of look inwards. We look to ourselves. We look to our team. We look to how we are doing. But the Eagles fans, they always look to the division, and they're almost as happy when somebody in their division goes down than they are about themselves, and they just take all that anger and they just release it onto the Cowboys and the Giants. And I just think the Giants are kind of, at least Dallas is kind of the pinnacle, the pretty boys of the NFL, so I could see why Eagles fans don't like them. But the Giants too, with Eli Manning, the Super Bowls, beating the Patriots, they still have that animosity.
They do. I still think they do deep down. They would love to be able to have 2 rings,
and they'd love to be able to have Eli.
Lifetime.
I've never seen an Eagles fan say objectively like Eli Manning's a terrific player. I've just never seen that. They always talk about the regular season and how he's a bitch and whatnot. And
I mean, yeah, there's times in my in my Giants career watching them. Eli Manning is a guy who, performs when it matters most, especially when Ty was definitely against the wall for them, especially in the 2007 season where their first 2 games, they gave up 85 points in the first 2 games. And to be able to come back after an 0-2 start, to be able to muster your way back into the season and really just to perform well, and to be able to go into the playoffs and to beat Tampa Bay on the road, Dallas #1 seed on the road, going all the way up to Lambeau Field, when it's -0 or no, it's negative degrees up there, to do it in such a young career like Eli. I don't see Carson Wentz making that same performance as Eli did in 07.
No
going
way.
all the way up to Lambeau Field, having that character and that tenacity only a couple years in. I just don't see that from Carson Wentz.
Because he's such a competitor, Eli Manning.
Exactly.
Eli
Absolutely.
Manning, remember when he was upset a couple years ago when the Broncos were winning the game against the Panthers in the Super Bowl and his brother? Because he always fears the worst. Like, he never is satisfied until the game's over, and he just wants to win. I mean, I don't think that there's a competitor quite like Eli. He never likes to take weeks off. He always he works hard. He puts his head down and works, and he never gets in the drama, and that's what I love the most about him. He's not in it for the fame at all. He's the complete opposite of Odell.
Yes.
He's kind of different than Michael Vick in that sense. He's different than a lot of these quarterbacks. He's definitely different than Cam Newton in terms of like attention. Eli Manning is just a guy that puts everything for the franchise, and he always is there. And sometimes, he'll throw interceptions in the regular season, but he's been through the ringer. And the playoffs, like we've mentioned, I mean, Eli was absolutely spectacular against the Dallas Cowboys to go on the road and beat the number 1 seed in the last game at Irving Stadium. The 2-minute drive, him hitting Toomer in the back of the end zone, if you remember that, Shenko, to tie the game up when the Cowboys dominated the second quarter. And then Eli and Plexico against Al Harris, just a gem of a game.
Yes.
Just embarrassing
Plaxico,
Al Harris.
And Plaxico didn't even practice that much during that week because he was limited participation. He was going through a lot of injuries at the time.
He's like Lawrence Taylor in that sense, Like he'll never practice. No, well, Lawrence Taylor.
Talk about Lawrence
I'm
Taylor,
just talking about from a pure practice standpoint. LT would always they'd always say that he'd be hurt and he had no chance of playing in the game, and then they're like he might play, and then he just balls out on Sunday. So. Plexico was a really, really special weapon for the Giants, and if you remember the next year they were like 8-1 or something, right? Went 13-3 without, and then Plexico, got arrested and whatnot. But Eli, and then in the Super Bowl too.
That's right.
Him getting out of the grasp of Seymour. What quarterback's going to do that?
Yeah.
And who's going to be almost naive enough to throw the ball to Tyree there?
I'm still shocked to this day, man.
Just Eli.
It's just Eli. He was only like 3 or 4 years in. A guy who has so much character, tenacity in that moment, and to be able to remember that and fast forward to 2011.
That is just Eli in a nutshell.
He's
lucky. He's kind of just like he's kind of just like a divine character.
Do you remember
almost.
in the NFC Championship game where Eli, he got sacked by I think Patrick Willis, and his helmet was like turned to the sideways like this,
grass stains coming out of
there,
yeah.
and he was just that like man among boys that day to be able to muster his way to victory.
Remember he hit Dominic Hicks and he
was,
couldn't throw.
Did not perform. I don't think Colin Kaepernick played.
No, it was Alex Smith. Yeah.
Oh my God, I forgot about.
It's
Alex
okay.
Smith.
It's okay.
But
Alex Smith forgets too.
Yeah, I mean now he'll forget. Now
I'll just always remember.
Kansas City.
I'll always remember the stat: 0 for 11 on third down.
Yeah,
and Kyle Williams fumbling the ball twice. But you look at
that same magic.
That game was a nightmare. That game was scary. Like I just remember it raining. It looked like Jurassic Park, playing in Candlestick Park. It just gave me that game was uncomfortable to watch.
Goodness.
I even felt like I was getting hit watching that game. That was like one of the ugliest NFC championships ever. And Lawrence Tynes making it. Just get the heck out of there. I'd rather be in Lambeau Field. Lambeau Field was more peaceful than Candlestick Park. Candlestick Park is just like a gritty, nasty kind of place.
Yeah, that was just a special moment for a lot of Giants fans.
That's what you hear about it.
And I think we got to end this show.
We got to end it. Let's talk a little NBA Finals. We got Thursday's game coming up. I'd love to give a prediction. First off, Shenko, let's draft our top 7 players, okay, in the finals, okay? In the NBA championship between these two teams. You want to take first pick?
Yeah.
I'd
love to take first pick.
That's an easy one, probably.
For me, LeBron James. No doubt. That's number 1 for me.
That's an easy one. Then I'll go Kevin Durant.
Ooh, you go Durant. Oh, Kyrie.
You're taking. So,
I
you
might
didn't even
do a-
hesitate.
No, I should have picked Kyrie first because I just love Kyrie. He's such a great player.
Yeah, I know you're a big fan. You got a big man crush on Kyrie because Kyrie could dribble the basketball. He is a better dribbler than Steph Curry, a better driver. He could finish at the rim.
I think so too.
If you're ranking point guards, I think Kyrie is a top 3
I
guard.
wish my man LeBron could shoot better free throws, but as of late, he has not been shooting well from the free throw line. But yeah,
he never was a great shooter at the foul line. Now it's tough because it's Steph or Draymond for me, and like a lot of people would think that that's an easy decision. You got to go Steph Curry, but I just love Draymond Green because Draymond Green is like a modern day Charles.
You're the all Warriors team. Look at you,
all Warriors team.
But you know what? Though?
I mean, I'm not a huge Golden State guy, but when we're in the finals, I want LeBron to go down.
I want to switch it up here. I'm going to take Klay Thompson instead of. I was going to say take Kevin Love.
I'll take Steph.
I'll take Klay Thompson because Kyrie can just dish it out to anybody. LeBron can find Klay Thompson. He's more of a stand-up shooter.
Oh yeah, Kevin Love's last.
Just like Kyle Korver.
Kevin Love is last.
Exactly.
Guys.
I mean, you can have Draymond. I don't want Draymond. So.
I love Draymond. I'm taking Draymond over Klay for sure.
What?
Draymond can shoot it just as in that NBA Finals Game 7. Draymond steps up. He steps up under pressure, and Klay Thompson, as much as I like Klay can choke. Klay can choke. He can disappear. He can come up small.
Well,
he's been coming up small all playoffs long. Draymond Green's game it translates to the NBA. It's a portable game. Like wherever Draymond plays, he's going to be effective. He's going to rebound. He's going to play hard. With Klay Thompson, it's all about finesse. It's all about matchups, and he has to get lucky hitting threes, or he has to get fortunate throwing in threes.
I tell you what, man, Klay Thompson can shoot the lights out in any game. Remember the one game he had like 30, 40 points and like 37 points in one quarter.
But he can also go cold. He's very good, but he can also go cold.
I mean, Draymond can certainly go cold. He can shoot bricks from threes. I mean,
but Draymond can dominate defensively. He's like a Barkley. Draymond is so tough.
Yeah, but LeBron can get into his head just like what happened last year in the NBA Finals because Draymond.
But against everybody
that's
else.
how he got suspended last
year. But
Draymond
Green's like a center. I mean, he is like a great two-way player, man. He plays unbelievable defense. His effort is all there. He just shows such heart. You would love Draymond if you played with him, man. You hate Draymond Green.
I don't like Draymond.
You don't like Draymond.
No.
Because you just think Draymond's kind of, arrogant and a little,
I'm not a fan of the way he, does his business on and off the court. Some of the things that he says are very arrogant. Like
he's boisterous,
very
for sure.
boisterous.
And I love that.
So many things that he said about. Remember the Barkley, or not the Barkley situation. It was with. I'm trying to remember. I'm drawing.
Was it an analyst, a Shaq?
No, he was saying something about Oakley. I'm
Charles,
trying to remember what it was.
Slave owner.
I think
slave owner. I think he said.
I just think that there's better terminology there to say. But
Draymond talks a lot, but most of the
talks
things
a lot
he
of smack
says,
though. There's a lot of smack talk there.
Yeah, but Draymond, for the most part, I mean, backs it up on the floor. I mean, because he's not a guy who's athletically gifted like LeBron. He's kind of pudgy. He's like 6'7", 6'8" on a good day, but for pound, I mean, the guy's just a monster. And like, I love, if you're rooting for Golden State, you certainly like him. With LeBron James, I think LeBron whines more than Draymond, and people don't like Draymond because he is arrogant. But I think that people either love him or hate him, and that's why he's so good for this league. So, I mean, now it's time to make our prediction, Shenko. I think Golden State, like last year, is going to drill Cleveland, and I think it's going to be a blowout, and then everybody's going to start counting out Cleveland. So I take Warriors by about 17 on Thursday.
Oh, you're already just picking game one. You're not even going to pick like any other. You're not going to pick the whole series yet.
Fine, I'll pick the series.
I think we got to wait.
Let's just pick game by game.
We have to. I think we have to. It's only 2 days left in the NBA Finals.
Well, but we're gonna be coming back. By the way, for this channel, we're probably gonna be doing a watch party for the NBA Finals as well.
We won't.
I love this YouTube channel, man.
I don't think we'll give away our picks yet.
No, we had to hold something.
I think game one will go to. It's just gonna be such a great game. I just don't see. I know LeBron's even saying in his voice, like it seems like to me at the end of that Celtics series, he just seems so defeated. It's like, oh, we need a long week to prepare against the worst. It just seems like you're never mailing it in.
Why can't LeBron just be happy, man?
Well, you have to play the juggernaut in the Warriors. You got to play the four-headed monster. You know, Steph, Clay.
That's why I love it, because
Draymond,
the NBA
Durant.
Shenko is so flawed. You know, it really is, because there's only 2 to 3 teams that can win. So I'm kind of hoping for a Warriors sweep. I want all the games to be blowouts.
No.
The NBA doesn't deserve a great finals. The
Yes,
league
they
is
do.
so flawed.
After how bad the playoffs have
That's what I'm
been,
saying. I just want. Why should, if
We
the
need
finals are great, then the league's not going to get addressed anymore.
I don't think the league's going to change whether it's a great finals or not. You're still going to
If
have
it's a bad finals, then parity is going to get brought up more.
Nah, I disagree. Steph Curry's going to still sign with the Warriors. Draymond's going to stay. Kevin Durant's already saying he wants to stay.
I want a route.
So you're going to see Cleveland and Golden State for the next probably 3 to 4 years.
And I'm sick of that, man.
and
It's
the way
such
it
a
is.
flawed system. That's why the NFL and college football are so much better, because Auburn can come out of
College-
nowhere and win.
college
Clemson, Florida State.
College is better.
College is so much better, man.
Yes,
but the
absolutely.
NFL is pretty damn cool, too, because who would have seen the Atlanta Falcons making the Super Bowl and Dan Quinn?
Yeah, I know
Dude,
that was a surprise.
when they beat the Raiders in week 2, I was like, holy shit, I was like, the Raiders suck to lose to the Falcons, but that's why the NFL's great, because of parity, man. The NBA has no parity, so I'm rooting for a sweep for
agree.
Golden State. And I think the series goes 5 games,
But
man.
just to
Golden
address-
State's going to tear them apart just like Vegas
just
says.
to address this argument here, I just think that after all the bad games we've experienced in these playoffs, I think as NBA fanboys,
Fanatics.
we deserve a great NBA Finals, because we've been subjected to the blowouts of the Celtics series,
dog shit.
Jazz. There's so many horrible series. There's no parity like we talked about. So I think we deserve an NBA Finals that we should all love and deserve. And I really, I wish this is going to be. I think this is going to be a great series. It's going to be one for the ages, one for the trilogy, and I might as well just pick this now. I really do like. I just think the way the Warriors lost last year, I just think there's no way that they're not going to be able to. Lose again like they lost last year. I think they're going to pull it out this year. I think it's definitely going to go in 7. Warriors in 7.
In 7 games at home.
I don't think.
Jesus.
I don't think Cleveland's just going to lay down low and not win and do well.
Wow.
But I do believe.
No way. How is Cleveland winning 3 games?
I think because he got LeBron James, he's not going to go down without a fight. I know he's been there so many times. He's got the experience. Kyrie has had some significant playoff experience. Same with Kevin Love. Now they're starting to finally get some playoff experience. They're trying to, because it's so important to have that in-game playoff experience to be able to perform at a high level in this league. There's so many NBA players who are, great in the regular season, and they just don't show up in the regular season.
Right, and they don't have that chemistry, and they don't have that belief,
Exactly. Yep.
But what I was really going to say is I believe that the Golden State Warriors are just going to blast Cleveland because, I think Kevin Durant, you put the second best player in the world. The Warriors were up 3-1 last year. They should have won in 5 maybe if Draymond, whatever, was playing. I think now that you have Kevin Durant, the series is only going to go 5 games. It's going to be a blowout. And I'd love for the NBA to have more parity. I want to see more teams make it to the NBA championship. I want to see more competitive playoffs. I almost like having 5 games for the first round. I want to see the regular season shortened. There's so many things. I want to see the game shortened to 20 minutes a half. There's a lot of things that the NBA can do to improve, but I am going to take Golden State in about 5 games. And Cleveland's they're a pretty damn good team. But if KD and those guys can be consistent, I like it. So thank you guys for watching our show. Again, we're angling to try to get some airtime. I'm going to be back here, I know, on Thursday. We're going to watch the NBA Finals together, the 3rd quarter. So I hope you guys stay in and tune in for that. I know I really appreciate you guys commenting on my NFL film reviews. I did Marcus Mariota this week. I'm going to do Trevor Siemian and Bryce Petty to wrap up this week. But again, Tuesday afternoon, guys, with Shenko
and Spence.
Shenk and Spence, we're going to be on here all the time. So we really want to thank you guys for watching our show. And take care, guys. We'll see ya.